All right, we are live tonight with Susan. Super excited to have her on here to share her story about how she's released. I think today's 18.8, I think was the official number today. So that's super exciting. And I know everyone has a different journey as far as the amount of weight we have and we lose and all this stuff. And for some, 18 pounds may not sound like a lot, but for those of us who have maybe some things that prohibit that, it might be a different story. And I'm sure Susan will tell us a little bit more about some of her journey, but super excited to hear her story. So if you are joining us, feel free to ask, questions. We can answer them. Comment below where you're coming from and give Susan some thumbs up. Show her your support and celebrate her success. So if you are joining us and are watching this for the first time, if you're joining the program or watching the Metabolic Reboot for the first time, the Metabolic Reboot's a fantastic program where we get the body healthy, we lose a lot of weight pretty fast. Usually it's about 20 to 45 pounds is kind of what average we see. So yeah, we'll dive right in and we'll kind of talk about Susan's story, and I'm sure we'll talk more about the program and the details and things like that. So Susan, how about you I'll just let you kind of introduce yourself, and maybe let's start with just kind of where you were maybe before the program, what, things you'd experienced, or kind of what motivated you to kind of look into this.
Well, about 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with Lyme's disease, and my doctor told me I had the worst case that he had ever seen. And as many of you may already know, Lyme's likes to hide in fat, and so it creates fat to hide in. And as the doctor was trying to kill the Lymes, I started putting on weight, and I put on about 45 pounds over a 3.5-year period. And when I started to regain my health, I naturally wanted to drop my weight. So the doctor suggested intermittent fasting and keto, which I did and lost 10 pounds, regained 3. So I lost 7 pounds altogether and stayed there for 9 months. No matter what I did, I could not drop the weight. And I ran across you in Facebook, and I thought, what the heck? I've tried everything else. I might as well try it.
Yeah. Okay. So, and Lyme's disease, if someone who's watching this doesn't know about Lyme's disease, it's rough. It can be a really tough thing. It's one of those ones that we're still learning a lot about, and it causes all sorts of other problems in the body. And so it's definitely, weight gain is one of those things that can obviously happen when we have maybe a chronic disease, but just there's a lot of other stuff happen. So you're a champion, Susan, as we call it. Just the fact that you're taking control of your health and overcoming, that's fantastic. So maybe elaborate or give us a little idea of, I know you tried keto and intermittent fasting. What were some of the other things you'd said you'd tried a bunch of stuff before doing this? What were some of the things you tried before?
Starving myself. I just quit eating a lot. And it didn't matter how little I ate, I still put on a lot of pounds. And I would maybe lose a pound or two and then gain 3 or 4. I tried, all kinds of supplements and just fasting, for a couple of days at a time, things like that. And nothing was working. I just was at a loss. It was so frustrating.
Yeah, right. It's one of those things where you're like, I am working so hard and I'm not seeing any results. It's super, super frustrating. So, okay. So you were struggling with some health issues. You started gaining control. You tried to lose some weight, lost a little bit, but couldn't really lose, very much along the way. So then we talked, obviously we had our initial conversation and talked about some of the things we do in the program. So you start the program. Tell us kind of about your experience over the last, I think it's been 7 weeks or something, or 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly what day we're on, but so tell us kind of your experience so far. We'll get into some of the very specific things you've learned that have been helpful, and maybe some of the results, but just kind of tell us in general how your experience has been so far.
Well, the first thing was the loading days, which is crazy. Eating 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day. That was counterintuitive. It's like, really? You want me to eat all this?
Right. Aren't we supposed to be losing weight? Isn't that the goal? Right.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
I ate all, and the keto diet is all about fat. So I knew how to load fat. That wasn't a problem. So I knew how to load.
Yeah.
So I did that for a couple of days and gained a few pounds. And I went, oh, great, this is crazy. And I didn't want to eat for like 4 days after that. But you were telling me, I don't care if you're hungry or not, eat the 4 ounces of everything
Yeah.
within a half hour. So it's like, all right. So intermittent fasting wasn't hard for me because I had been doing that. So starting at noon was great. And I would just start eating 4 ounces of fruit and vegetables and meats. But the trick was I was just headed for like a 2-month stint of traveling. So that put an extra edge on everything. So I packed my scales, both my digital scale to weigh me on and the one to weigh my food on, and took it with me. Because I was determined, after all the money I paid you, I was going to make it work. It was good incentive.
Right.
So I would plan my meals ahead of time because like I said, I'd be traveling. So I learned to eat things like shrimp, because that's easy to eat in the car, believe it or not. Shrimp is pretty good. And carrots and cauliflower and broccoli, raw vegetables, because I didn't have to cook. And a lot of lean lunch meats that I could just roll up and eat, like roll up around a pepper or something like that. And so I looked for things that were easy to eat in the car. And I drank a lot of herbal tea. When I would start to crave something or want something, I would just drink. And so drinking all the water really helped. That was big.
Yeah.
Because it stopped me from snacking. So
Yeah.
because I was used to eating every 2 to 3 hours. So I would, I had a window of time that I ate, but I was eating every 2 hours. So on this program, it was like 2 meals. That's it. So
Yeah.
I had to learn how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now tell us a little bit more. I can't. You have to tell me how many days. So how many or how much were you home out of the last, like, let's say 7 weeks or something?
Okay, so I've been home for about a week and a half right now, but before that, I was home 4 days.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was
Wow.
home for the 2 loading days, and I was home for 1 day in between a trip and another day in between another trip. So, yeah, I was gone, and I was just starting.
So, and some people would be like, that's crazy, Susan. Like, what? And I always say sometimes those are the best times to start because it gives you a plan. It gives you something to stick to rather than like, let's just see what happens and you come back 10 pounds heavier. You traveled for 7 weeks and came down almost 19 pounds lighter. So
right. I was really scared because these particular conferences, I knew there was lots of goodies. I mean, they were feeding us cookies and popcorn, and they always had stuff. And I knew that's how it was going to be. So I had to plan ahead. I had to have peppers and cucumbers and salsa with no sugar in it and things like that I could snack on and feel good about.
Yeah.
And when they started popping the popcorn, that's my particular downfall is popcorn. And I can eat 12 cups of popcorn, no problem, heavily buttered. And I said, okay, I'm going to consciously cheat because there's chocolate truffles, there's popcorn, there's cake, there's cookies. I'm going to have one little handful of popcorn and call it good, just so I wouldn't feel too deprived. And I did it. And it, didn't have butter or anything on it. And I just thought, I stalled the next day and I went, dang it. So that was a good lesson. Stick to the program. Don't cheat, even though it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, cool. So, okay, so I always have the question of like, okay, some people listening to this are going to be like, well, I don't want to give up all that stuff and, all these things, but tell me, and you can be honest too. It's okay. We're live, but I mean, was it worth it? Was it worth giving all that stuff up? Okay. Why?
Yeah, because I didn't gain 7 pounds. Usually, being gone on something like this, I would gain 7 pounds very easily. And I didn't want to gain it back. I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so because I was used to not eating fruit because of the keto diet, you don't hardly eat any fruit, if at all. I felt like I was cheating every single meal because I was eating fruit. So it was wonderful. So I bought really high quality fruit, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, things that I really, really like, so that I didn't feel too deprived. When people were eating all these munchy good things, I was eating raspberries. So it's like, yeah, look at me eating the raspberries. And I also told everybody what I was doing. Everybody in the group knew that I was on a special food plan. I never called it a diet. I said I'm on a special food plan, and I'm changing the way that I eat because of Lyme's disease, and please don't encourage me to eat sweets. So I set that parameter out there so people wouldn't be like trying to get me to cheat. So that worked.
Yeah, well, that's huge. I mean, that's one of those like pearls of wisdom right there that is so big. I mean, one of the things we talk a lot about is community and support, and having some people that you can, have get behind you, and there's different components to that in the program, but that is so big. And just being a little assertive with those around you and just saying, hey, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm really trying here. And so please don't try to like get me to eat this or poke fun at me for not or whatever. Like, that's huge. I think that is so powerful to and sometimes we feel weird, and that's okay. But it's okay to feel a little bit weird when you're losing almost 19 pounds when you're traveling and normally gain 7 pounds, right? I mean, that's fantastic. So,
and I would always report how much weight I would lose, like, because I was with these people over periods of days. It's like, I've lost 2 or 3 pounds since I've been here. And they'd go, you've got to be kidding me. And it's like, yeah, so they would encourage me. And, when we'd go to the sushi place, I would ask for raw broccoli instead of rice, things like that. And it just got to be kind of fun. It's like, can I find something on the menu I can eat and make it work? So I turned it into a game instead of being embarrassed about it, which I could have been easily.
Yeah. Well, and I think I think the principle that you just were talking about is so key, in that when we're trying to change our health, sometimes we feel weird or guilty or like we're deprived, or, we don't want to like put people out or like be that person at the restaurant. But if you just say, hey, like this, I'm okay with this. And it's, it's part of what I'm going to do. And I'm changing the way I eat. I love that you didn't call it a diet, because it's not. I mean, we're just living healthier, and you just make it fun. And that's the beauty, is food really can be nourishing and help us heal and lose weight and fun at the same time. And, sometimes it's not the most delicious things if you're just, eating raw broccoli or whatever, but you can also make it really tasty. That's the cool part, is you can kind of make it in a fun way as well. So that's awesome. So you've traveled, you've gone out to eat, you've been in social settings, and it still worked. You still saw progress. So very cool. Yep. So, okay. So tell us some of the things that you have learned along the process that have been helpful for you. I know you mentioned, telling people around you and kind of planning ahead, but maybe elaborate a little bit for maybe someone who's starting the program who may be watching this. What are some of the things that you've kind of learned along the way that have been the most impactful for you, or maybe aha moments, or just things that have been super helpful?
Okay, so what I did a lot of times is I weighed my food before I left my hotel room or wherever I was staying. So I weigh out food in containers so I wouldn't have to take my scale with me. And that I wasn't willing to do in public. So I weighed things out ahead. And I also learned to eyeball it, and I practiced. So I would say, okay, this looks like 4 ounces of lunch meat, and then I'd put it on the scale to see how close I was. And I got pretty good at it, so that if I was caught in a situation unexpectedly, I could eyeball food. And my husband was traveling with me, so I could just push things over on his plate that I couldn't eat and just let him eat it, and take things from his plate if I didn't have enough, things like that. So I used my husband's plate as mine.
Good.
And he was behind me all the way. That's another big thing, is my husband is an athlete, and can lose 10 pounds by fasting 2 days. It's sickening. And so, but he was still supportive. And I knew that I couldn't eat like he can. I just can't. I can't eat like him. And so when he was enjoying the treats and stuff, I let myself voice my displeasure over him getting to eat it. It's like, that's no fair. But I was teasing more or less, you know?
Right.
And getting sympathy from other people, like, oh, what a mean husband. You know, I mean, it was just a joke. But it helps to joke about it and to make light of it and to just be in the mindset that I'm going to do this. I don't care what situation I'm in. I'm going to find a way to do this. And that really helped.
Yeah. Awesome. That's fantastic. I think, you know, like you said, just making it happen for you and making, you know, like, I mean, ultimately it's not a short-term thing that we do. We want to do this long-term, but even then, like making it fun, making it a game, saying, hey, like we're different than other people and that's okay. Like we can celebrate that. We can make fun of ourselves. We can be different if we have to be. And it's super, super good principle to, okay, we're back.
Yay.
All right. Sorry. I would imagine that's, well, we're probably both in fairly rural places right now.
Yeah.
So gotta love the technology and the internet, right? So,
Right.
um, so, okay. So I was just saying that's a fantastic principle of being able to just say, we're doing something different. Like we eat healthy and we can poke fun at ourselves and we can, you know, get sympathy and that's okay. Like those things are all okay because we're trying to break out of the norm. We're trying to take control and improve and just really make our lives better. So that's fantastic. So planning ahead, it sounds like was a big thing and just getting good. And some people would listen to like, you know, measuring foods and things like that. I mean, we're not counting calories or points or anything, but we do generally eat about 4 ounces of some different foods. We have veggies and fruits and proteins and big long lists. So some people might listen to that. And again, I want to ask, you know, for you and even with traveling, I mean, was that difficult? Was it a hard thing to do?
No, I learned, you know, that 12 to 15 mini carrots are 4 ounces. I weighed it out and I learned.
Yeah.
You know, I learned how many shrimp 4 ounces were and I would count them. And yeah, you just make it work.
Yeah. Cool. And the cool thing is you do it a couple of times and you're like, oh, I know this now the rest of my life and I can stick to this. It's really easy to do. And that's I think one of the best parts about doing, you know, losing weight this way is you're never hungry or very little hunger.
Yeah.
If you're probably driving in a car, maybe like you were sometimes, that's a hard time because you're like, most people are used to munching, right, in the car.
Right.
But more of just breaking through the mindset components of that. But I find it so simple. It's just so simple to do that it's easy. You can do it forever. I mean, you can make food fun and tasty and you can go out to eat. Yeah. So that's really, really cool. So planning, obviously having support of your husband, that's always helpful. Again, you shared about, you know, helping people, other people around you kind of know what you're doing. That's great. So other things that were kind of aha moments for you or things that you learned, that anything else that kind of stood out?
Food started tasting better. After about, I would say it took about 2 weeks, but I really noticed food really started tasting a lot better. It's like
Yeah.
I could really taste the food. And that
Yeah.
surprised me.
It's cool. It's almost like this phenomena that like, well, there's actually a reason. So maybe if those watching have experienced this, when you eat very processed or artificial foods, it changes our brain and our palates actually change so that we don't like normal stuff. So if we can cut all that out for some time, it's pretty amazing how you'll eat those berries and you're like, wow, this is like so flavorful and
Yeah.
so delicious. Awesome bonus, right? So
Yeah,
very cool.
mandarin oranges, all that kind of stuff. It started just tasting really good. And I noticed that I liked crunchy things, so snap peas were good for me to snack, not snack on, but to eat in the car as part of my lunch a little slower maybe. I knew I was supposed to eat within a half hour, and so sometimes I'd stretch it to 45 minutes because my husband is like scarfing down trail mix and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I'm eating my peas and
Yeah.
my cucumbers. But yeah, it just got to the point where I didn't crave. You know, at first I was feeling a little bit sorry for myself, but it got to the point that when I was around really rich desserts and really rich food, I didn't feel like I was being left out. I didn't want it. I didn't care anymore.
Awesome. That's
So,
huge. That's like, that's
yeah.
massive because so many people are so worried, like, I'm going to crave and I'm going to, whatever, and I'm just going to fail. I'm going to give in. But that's awesome. So did it just kind of happen naturally? Were you working on things? Were you like anything that you were kind of doing to help that?
Well, every day I would read my little affirmation sheet that we filled out at the beginning. And so I would read that. And, I had it so that it was easy to read. And I just kept imagining myself fitting into a particular dress I wanted to get into for a special event. That's another incentive. I had an event to go to, and I had a special dress to wear, and I needed to lose weight to get into it.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
so I think that was an extra incentive, is to have something to look forward to that was going to be really fun.
Mhm.
And I had a backup plan in case it didn't work. And also, I think the thing that really helped is, like, one day I'm in Smith's shopping and I'm going, Jared, I haven't lost weight for 3 days. What do I do? And you're like walking through the aisles with me through the phone. Well, buy this.
Yeah.
Telling me what tea to buy and telling me how much, I got to eat steak as a method to overcome a stall. I went, really? Filet mignon? Okay, I'm up for
Yeah.
this. So
Cool.
I bought really high quality food. So the food that I was buying, I bought really good quality. And
Yeah.
that made it a lot more fun to eat.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And it's more fun and it's better for us. That's the thing when
Yeah,
you buy higher quality stuff and it's usually generally less processed or grown different. So that's great. So
yeah,
very cool. So and that's the beauty is because we do things differently. I mean, you mentioned and for someone who maybe is just joining or maybe isn't part of it, like we talk about loading days in the beginning. You mentioned where we eat a ton of food. It's a totally different approach. We do things, we never really see plateaus or like we see maybe like a pause for a day or two or three or whatever, but there's ways to break through or we get to eat steak or we get to eat, whatever. So it's a little bit different approach for most people. Most people are like,
yeah,
I didn't lose. I got to go run more or eat more salads or like less salad, right? I got to just,
yeah,
because that's usually what we're eating anyway. So we got to eat less of it, which is totally backwards. We really need to nourish the body. And like you said, if you're not hungry, like I still want you eating the amount of
yeah,
food. And sometimes it's like almost too much, I've found for a lot of people. And so they're like, I just got to eat it anyway. And that's the beauty
yeah,
is to eat the right foods, you can eat a lot of it and you can see really good progress. So that's awesome.
yeah. The other day, my brother lives at a independent living place where they all eat together. So I
Mhm.
brought my own meal to eat lunch with him. And a lot of times, lunch is my big meal of the day. So I had this huge, huge salad. I mean, it was like in one of these Rubbermaid containers. It was big. And so we're eating with another man, and he's like looking at my salad because this salad is humongous. And I'm eating it and eating it. And, you know, after we're all done, he says, I can't believe you ate that whole salad. That was huge.
Yeah. And that's the beauty is you really can. And not only in addition to the salad, depending on what you're putting on your salad, you're eating your proteins, your fruits, your other veggies. And so, yeah, that's fun. It is. And I know a lot of like people, you end up eating more than like most people. You look at their plates and you're like, I'm eating more than you. It's just about the quality of the food rather than the quantity. I think that's a huge component for weight loss. It's not about the quantity. It's all about the quality of the food. So.
And I also like the free vegetable part because when I eat the other foods that I'm supposed to, if I'm still feeling a little hungry, I've got all these other things in my fridge that I've bought that are considered free vegetables, like tomatoes. I can make salsa with totally free vegetables and then eat it with cucumbers like a chip.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, and that's again, great principle of finding ways to not feel like you're missing out. I mean, you can still have chips and salsa. Your chips are just cucumber chips, right? Or whatever. And the beauty is you can still enjoy it. It may not be exactly the same, but at the same time, it's really similar and you're losing weight and a lot of it in a shorter time. So that's fantastic.
And my husband started, you know, he just started saying, start fixing me food like yours. I want to eat like you. It looks too good.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun thing when you're like, people are like, what do you eat? And I want that. That looks awesome. So good. Well, very cool. Those are all really fantastic, really insightful things that are so just pearls of wisdom, as I always say, that people can use. I mean, even if you're not part of the program, those are all good things you could use even outside of our kind of structured losing phase. And obviously into the maintenance phase as well, and the locking phase. Those are powerful things. So, okay, so let's get to the fun part of what are some of the things you've experienced? Tell us about like your results. And I know you mentioned a dress and we're down 18, almost 19 pounds. And tell us about that. What are some of the things you've noticed or experienced throughout the process?
Okay, so I had this special event about a week and a half ago. And I was afraid before the day of to even try on the dress because I couldn't even, it's a really slim line skirt and I couldn't even get it over my thighs before, okay? So I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to disappoint myself. So I put it on and I could fit like 2 fingers in the waistband. I mean, it was loose.
Yeah.
It was big. I couldn't believe it. And so I got to wear my special dress and I was so excited. And then a lot of people noticed because my face was thinner at this special event. It's like, well, what are you doing? You just look younger and you look better. And, you know, I just got a ton of compliments for how I looked. And my husband is, you know, very pleased with how I'm looking. He's always very good. It doesn't matter what weight I'm at. He's very loving and sweet, but I could tell he liked me losing weight. He liked
it. That's great.
And so I'm just being able to wear clothes I haven't worn in 2 years. That's big for me. That is really important. And I can bend over.
Yeah.
You know, I can put my shoes on. I can put my pantyhose on. I mean, it's not such a hassle to get up out of a car that's seated low. And, you know, I feel better. I walk and I don't get winded as easily. And there's just so many benefits. I can, you know, these conferences, they were like 9 to 9, 12-hour conferences. And I did this for like 2 weeks in a row. And I was doing 12-hour days and I was fine. So I had a lot of energy. So, and another thing that I really found that was helpful is the vinegar water. You know, you were telling us to drink apple cider vinegar. And so I would put like a couple of tablespoons in 24 ounces of water with some stevia and some lemon juice. And it's like a soda pop. I really like it. I know it sounds weird, vinegar water soda pop, but it's good. I've really learned to like it. Now my husband drinks.
Apple cider vinegar. What would you do with that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said the last thing I cut out a little bit. So the last thing you were talking about was apple cider vinegar.
Okay, so I just mix a couple of tablespoons and 24 ounces of water with a tablespoon of lemon juice with some stevia. And I drink that when I'm feeling a little bit hungry in the afternoon. It takes away any cravings.
Yeah.
It's really good, and it's kind of fizzy. And my husband said, start making me that. I want some of that, because he would taste mine. That's good. And so it's kind of like a treat. I know it sounds really weird, but I like it.
Yeah, it's like a little lemonade, a little fizzy lemonade.
Yeah,
So that's
but
awesome.
it's good.
Cool. So okay, so you've lost weight. That's fantastic. Your
Yep,
energy was up. Your
yep,
clothes obviously are fitting much better. Lots of compliments. Your
yep.
face, it sounds like, trimming down and looking younger.
Sleep
Cravings are
apnea. Yeah, I had
okay.
sleep apnea, and I'm not experiencing that anymore. That was one of the big reasons I wanted to lose weight. My doctor told me,
Yeah.
you've got to lose this or get on a CPAP. So sleep apnea is improving, and um, yeah, I'm feeling a lot healthier.
Awesome. That is so cool. So let me maybe ask a follow-up on that with the Lyme's disease. Do you feel like, I mean, I know there's some specific somewhat symptoms that can happen or just overall unhealth that can happen. Do you feel like it's improved I mean, just overall, I mean, you're feeling better. So any
Yeah,
improvements as far as kind of that goes?
yeah, I'm not on as many supplements as I was before uh, to counteract the Lymes, and I'm feeling great. It feels like my blood sugar is more stabilized because I was pre-diabetic, and so my blood sugar is stabilized. And then I've lost like 29 and a half inches.
Wow.
So that's
Awesome.
a lot of inches.
Yeah. That is
And
fantastic.
yeah, so it just feels so good. Like I said, a lot of people maybe lose 25 pounds on this, but for me, 18 pounds it feels like 100 pounds for me because I absolutely could not lose weight no matter what I did. And, I talked to you a lot about it in the beginning. I didn't believe it would work. I was really skeptical. It's like, no, you can't help me. I've got Lyme's disease. And you're going, no, I can help you. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. Yeah. That's the beauty is, I mean, you like, I love to hear the impact that you've seen in losing weight, but it's all the thing that most people, and we're learning, right? Like some of the things you've learned along the process is it's all tied together. And so how we feel and our energy and our skin and our sleep and our weight, and it's not just isolated that we have weight and that's different than the sleep, or that's different than the energy, or that's different than all these things. They're really all tied together. And it all comes back down to things like your blood sugar and your inflammation and all the stuff that we really address. And so that's why I'm very confident we can pretty much almost help anybody in the program, even with Lyme's disease. I mean, that's why I was like, yes, Susan, we can see progress. And sometimes we don't lose 20 to 45 pounds, but that's okay because everybody's different. And if we're dealing with a chronic problem like Lyme's disease, it can be tough. And that's the beauty is, 1.2 pounds more, and we're there at 20 pounds, and we'll
Right,
get
right.
there. I have a good feeling that it'll keep coming down for
Yeah,
sure. But that's the beauty is your body's getting healthier. And that's the best part. Yes, you're losing weight, but energy and just sleep and all that, it means our bodies are getting healthier on a cellular level. So that is so cool to hear. I mean, obviously amazing things that you've experienced, and you've done all the work. Like I've just been there to kind of support and help if I can, but I'm like applauding you, Susan, for just fantastic, just sticking to it, especially being out of town and traveling. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people joining the program. They go, I got a vacation coming up, or I'm going to wherever, Disney, or I got to watch my grandkids, or I got to do all these things. And to hear someone like your experience that you've literally been gone the whole time, pretty much the whole program, and you still made it work, and it still was successful. I mean, that just shows how amazing, the hard work that you've done. So congrats to you. Anybody watching, give Susan thumbs up, just comments, all that stuff, because that is so fantastic to hear. So
thank you.
very cool. So okay, so I always like to ask two last questions, and one of them you maybe have already answered, but any advice or just anything that maybe haven't, or maybe reiterate anything that, for someone joining the program, if you had like one thing or something, anything that you haven't said that maybe you'd say, this, what would be that kind of advice?
I kept telling myself I deserve this. I deserve to be healthy, and I deserve to drop the inches and the pounds and to feel better. So I just kept saying, you're worth it. You deserve it. And when I would feel tempted by different chocolate, or, chocolate and popcorn are my downfalls, I would just tell myself, you are so worth it, and you're going to feel so good. And you're going to be so happy with yourself when you've lost 20 pounds. And so I would just keep my eye on the goal.
Yeah. So powerful. I mean, I think because, dealing with a lot of people with weight loss, I think that's probably the number one thing that sometimes we don't feel we deserve it. And some, maybe it's because we've tried and we failed and, whatever else, but that's powerful, Susan. Like that's life-changing for people to hear that and to go, yeah, I'm worth it. Like I can get there too. And I can do, I mean, that's massive. So that is such amazing insight. And I mean, like when you said that, I got like chills. I got emotional. That was like, that's powerful. I mean, that's life-changing, that we all have to come and believe that we truly do deserve it. And we're good enough. We I don't know, whatever the beliefs that we hold, that's so powerful. So very cool. Now, kind of the last question I always like to ask, which again, I don't want to take your whole evening, but I appreciate you sharing your story with us. If there were not maybe somebody specific in your life, but just like a type of person, I mean, like a group of people or somebody that you have in mind that really could benefit from this, if someone's watching this and they're going, well, is it going to work for me? I mean, what kind of person do you feel like would really benefit from this?
Well, I'm a legal senior citizen. So senior citizens, sometimes feel like, we're past the time that we can do something about our health.
Yeah.
And so I would say that. And I'd never told you, but I actually suffer from 3 chronic autoimmune disorders.
Okay, I did not know.
No, I had Lyme's, Epstein-Barr, and Hashimoto's. So I was dealing with actually the trifecta, the triple hit. And anybody that's dealt with thyroid issues, it is difficult to lose weight.
Yeah.
And so anybody that's dealing with their thyroid or Lyme's or any kind of an autoimmune disease, don't discount the effect that this can have. It can work.
Yeah. Wow. That is huge. I mean, and I'm the agree. I've also an autoimmune disease. I got type 1 diabetes, a little bit different than other autoimmune diseases. They're all kind of different, but I've seen similar things. So that is so powerful for someone that has those, because sometimes we feel hope. There's no hope, right? Sometimes like we're just like, it's forever. I have it. I just might as well come to grips that I'm going to be overweight and I'm going to feel bad and have poor energy and whatever else. And so the fact that to hear your story, Susan, of hope, of change, of progress, of healing, that's really what's happened is you're healing. And that is, I mean, I think anybody watching this will feel that healing in their life as well. So that is so powerful. So I appreciate those words for anybody, but especially for those, those of us that have chronic disease, and that is powerful. So thank you for sharing that and for sharing your story. I mean, for taking time out of your evening and being willing to go out on a limb and share your experience. I think a lot of people watching this or will watch this will absolutely benefit. You're an inspiration, and thank you, Susan, for sharing your story with us and your progress. Super excited for your progress that you've experienced and for the progress to come. So absolutely. Yeah. Well, I just get to be along for the ride. That's the best part is I get to help any way I can, but it's really, I feel like I get to enjoy the change that you see as well. So I appreciate you letting me be part of it. And I'm excited for we're not, obviously we're still transitioning to the next phase, which is exciting. We're kind of at the end of the losing phase right now. So we've got some more progress to come. So, but awesome to hear the progress so far. So thank you, Susan. For joining us. Yeah, we will talk to you later. And for anybody who else is joining or has watched this, feel free to comment, ask questions. I can respond in the comments, or Susan will probably get tagged as well. Maybe she can respond. But if you have any questions, let us know. And again, Susan, thank you. We'll see you later.
All right. Good night.
Good night.